Hello, flower friends. It is your friend in flowers, Lisa. And I mean, y'all, I am so knee deep in dried flowers here today. We are having such a great, we're getting a lot of work done. That's not having a great time, but we are having a lot of fun. Are these beautiful? This is larkspur. This is, I think, misty lavender, and this is smoky eyes. And these are dried, y'all. So Suzanne and I have just spent the morning shooting the videos for our October masterclass in my club, and it's all about what are we going to do with all these dried flowers now. I mean, we have got dried flowers all over Kingdom coming here. We took them down where we hung them to dry, and anyway, so welcome friends. This is Ask a Flower Farmer, and what this means is that over the next 30 minutes or so, I will do my best to answer your questions, anything related to flower farming, seed starting, cool flowers, flower farming business, whatever you got. And if you didn't know about my club, you can actually comment club here, and I'll DM you the link to go straight to it. It's really pretty awesome. We have a live Q&A each month, an amazing community, sewing circle every Wednesday, and a masterclass every month, right? As well as a broadcast. Did I already say that? Anyway, so it's a lot of fun. So, hope everybody is doing okay. Again, you know, our hearts are just so full of thinking about all the people that are suffering, that are still in dire straits. And, you know, we can't stop reaching out and helping them. And so I just want to keep that in front of everybody, to do what you can. And cash is king, donating to whatever your agency of choice is. That's what funds all those people that are there and all the supplies they need and are supplying to people. And so that is just really heavy, right? So if you'd like to ask a question, you can post it down in the bubble below with the question mark in it. And I know that we are in knee-deep seed starting, right, for cool flowers. I moved cool flowers, half of them outside. I didn't move my snaps out yet. And tons of Rudbeckia and Status and Sweet Williams, and just some of the odds and ends are all outside. And so we are now, I tell you, we've had the best germination on every seed we've started this year. And because it's so funny, I was getting ready to say, and so now everything has been started the first time around. Stuff happens. Like, for instance, now that they're out on the carport, they're vulnerable to varmints. Tucker is eating everything in sight down here. So I'm always prepared to restart my second run of cool flowers. Some years it would be that we just had crummy germination. And when you have poor germination across several different seeds, you look to your environment, y'all. It's one thing to have one seed that doesn't germinate very well. But when you have more than one, then you need to start looking for the common denominator, and the environmental conditions are it. We most often find that that's temperature. And so this year we have just really nailed it. And I mean, we had excellent germination on all of our Sweet Williams and our Rudbeckias. And I could just go on Scabiosis, all of them, and snaps. So, I see that we've got some questions down there now, so let's just do some reminders. So today is Wednesday. Remember to meet me. The live show on Friday is going to be about indoor seed starting. I'll be doing more cool flower. There's something I'm sure Bobo needs us to start. We haven't started our sweet peas yet, and that might in fact be what we're doing. So meet me inside. If you could come inside the app, which is free, by the way, then you can participate in the giveaway. I usually give away a $25 store credit every single week. So it's worth coming and doing that. And we have a lot of fun, and you can communicate with the other viewers online. And remember, if you are coming to the Southeastern ASCFG next week, it's Tuesday and Wednesday, the 8th and 9th, I think it is, then 8th and 9th. I think that's the 8th and 9th. I can't wait to see you. I'm going down to talk cool flowers. I haven't done a conference in about 5 years, and I am that's all I used to do, right? So I'm really excited to connect with students, club members, followers, and of course all my friends that I just haven't seen in person for a really long time. So that'd be super fun. All right, so let's take a look at what some questions you guys have here. Phoebe's Flower Farm. This is my second year growing tulips and still am very new to growing them. Should I succession plant the bulbs? How far into the season can I plant? Tulips are tricky, and you need to go to the No-Till Flowers podcast. And Dave Dowling and Jenny Love, probably last year, and she doesn't do weekly podcasts, so it's not hard to find it. Last year, or maybe a little before that, they talk tulips, and it'll just open your eyes on how to do it, what to do. And I mean, Dave is the tulip expert, and Jenny has grown tulips for years for her farmer florist business. So, sister, I would like for you to take him in. He's eating everything on the floor down here. Excuse me, y'all. So, No-Till Flowers, tulips. So that's where you need to go beyond a shadow of a doubt and listen to it. It is the best guidance on growing tulips. All right. If you were in Zone 9A, which cool flowers would you succession sow? So that's a really great question, and I guess it was my club's Q&A. I was talking to somebody actually in Zone 10, and so you really can't succession plant probably in Zone 9 and 10 would be my assumption. And so because there's many cool flowers that I can't even plant in very early spring, I fall plant them because our summer heat and humidity comes so fast, they just don't have time to get up and growing to do the job. So I would say your whole key is to get all the cool flowers in, because they're all winter hardy for you, right? 6 weeks or so before your coolest period of time. And then I would experiment, like Buplurum, those things that I just could use every single stinking week. And experiment. You won't know for your conditions until you do it. And friends, I think I should start saying this as a public announcement all the time. I mean, I have probably killed more plants out in the field than most people will ever grow in their life, because you don't know till you try it. Nobody can tell you what's going to succession plant in Zone 9A, because your conditions, even micro beyond that, are different. So I would game that your big planting should be all that 6 week or so before your coolest period, if you don't probably get a frost, and then pick a couple flowers. I like to succession plant Amazon Sweet William, that's a variety, and also Buplurum. Those would be two that I would try, and just see, is it worth it? Are they too short? Do they do puny? Then just kick them to the curb. But I think that's your big gamer, is your fall planting. Would you say it's possible to be profitable doing mostly wholesale? Oh, for sure. There's people that do only wholesale. And it, again, is all about what your goals are about. I mean, I've been talking about this so very, very much in another project that I'm doing. It all depends on what your end game is. How much, are you looking to, is this a side hustle for you? Or are you, there are surely, I know multiple people that their family earns everything they have from flower farming, and it has been very good for them. And because they do grow so many flowers, they end up selling in multiple markets. When I say a market, I mean, wholesale or supermarkets or farmers markets or florists. A market is just an area that you sell in. And I know plenty of people that only sell wholesale to florists, or through a collective or a co-op, which I think is the future of local flower farming. And because if you focus on wholesaling, then that eliminates a whole lot of expenses and time. So all of that weighs into your equation. And that's why it's really hard. For those of us that have been in the business for a while, we get asked constantly, how much should I charge for this? And how much money can I make? those are that's like asking a very personal question. Not in like, I won't tell you, but in that's so unique to you. I mean, I live in the second largest suburban area in the state of Virginia, outside of Northern Virginia, which is the suburb of Washington, D.C. I live around, I think there's 9 different military bases within 20, 30 minutes of me. That just means there is a lot of partying going on, meaning events, officers clubs, all that kind. So we get top dollar for our flowers here. What would it be like in the middle of Montana, where you're in a rural town of 200, right? So it's so very, very personal. But there are definitely businesses that only sell wholesale, that stay in their lane to streamline their expenses and what they grow and how much they grow to cater to that. And so the answer to your question is yes. But few people, in my opinion, and not my opinion, from what I've seen from being a flower farm for 27 years, are able to stay in their lane. Meaning they're not like, oh, well, maybe I'll start doing a market. I know somebody's just started doing this. Maybe I'll go to a market too. Well, that just complicates things in more ways than you even imagine. But it makes a vehicle, tent, tablecloths, tables, way to take payment. Now you got to have sales tax number. Do you know what I mean? So staying in your lane, no matter what market you choose, is the best way to make money. And you make money quicker and you make it faster. But few people are able to do it. And I know that because I was one of those people. And so that's why, as a mentor to so many, I tell people it's just like so hard, but you just have to do some tough love and decide what you want to do. I missed the seeding window for fall planting. Should I go ahead and plant direct seeded cool flowers now and wait until very early spring for transplanting? So it's that time of the year, right? I think you're officially the first person that's asked me this on a live anyway. This is a question we get over and over and over and over again. You can't direct sow seeds outdoors in the garden late. Late as in it's already cold where you are. So, the window is 6 to 8 weeks before your first fall frost. And that 6 to 8 week window is because it's still kind of warm outside during the days. It might be cool at night. That's like the perfect recipe right there. Cool nights, warm days. But if it's cool during the day and cold at night, those seeds are never going to sprout or germinate. They're never going to break dormancy. But I can promise you all the native weeds are just going to keep right on growing. So there's just really no reason to sow those seeds because you also lose the cool flower concept point of fall planting. The point is to get them in the ground, to get them to sprout, to grow into a small plant, to winter over, being dormant, to be able to be well prepared for spring. That is not the case for a seed that seed won't die, but it's just not easy. It's just not a good thing to do in my experience. People do it all the time, and a lot of people fail at cool flowers, and it's purely related to the timing. So my advice to you is you are far better off to plant transplants, those cool flowers that you want to plant that are transplants, to start those seeds indoors, because you can buy yourself about a month back by hooping and row covering them with a lightweight row cover. No plastic, no heavy duty stuff. You're just concentrating the sunshine. You have more wiggle room with a transplant because it's already sprouted. You can plant that transplant out in the garden, hoop and cover it, giving it a little cuddle, and it'll get its roost established. So you haven't really lost everything. But I don't see any reason to waste seeds sowing them into a cool garden. Cool to cold. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Let's see here. Larkspur, I've grown them beautifully, but my germination is poor. I've heard some farmers freeze the seeds. Your thoughts? So larkspur, first off, is one of the few seeds that we start with fresh seed every single year. It is definitely a seed that the viability, if it at all gets any humidity or heat, and I'm talking humidity just in the air, even inside of a home, will definitely affect germination. So larkspur is one that we, beyond a shadow of a doubt, start fresh seed every single year. And then follow instructions. And this will just tell you how much I don't even memorize this stuff either. I can't remember, does larkspur get covered with soil or not? That's why I take literally either, well, I now plant all of our plantings from seeds from the gardener's workshop. I literally get packs off of our shelves and bring them home, and that's what we, Bobo takes her list up there, gets all the seeds, brings a big box of seeds home, because we are, testing germination. We want to be starting the same seeds that our customers are starting. So I literally read the seed packet. But if you don't have our seed packet, then I used to take the Cool Flower book out with me to the garden, literally, because that's what I'm looking for. Does it get covered with soil or not? That is huge. That's the difference between sprouting and not sprouting. Fresh seed, does it get covered or not? You need to know that. And then watering it. We get great stands of larkspur now. I get great stands of everything because I overseed more than what most people do, at least a seed an inch, and then you thin. So give that a thought. And so about the freezing, so we do store our Cool Season Hardy annual seeds in the freezer, really out of convenience, but also because none of the Cool Flowers that are on our website or in my books requires any kind of cold stratification or special handling as a seed. They don't require being frozen. However, putting those seeds in the freezer for at least a couple weeks and then bringing them out of the freezer and planting them is like giving them a little nudge, like a little wake-up call. Like, hey, you in there, time to wake up. You're no longer cold. Now it's warm and you're moist, So we do it as a added benefit, kind of an added help, but you don't have to. It's not required. But I think viable seed is the first one. So get enough larkspur seed for 1 year, plant it all, and then get new the next year. I planted out our foxglove seedlings about 8 weeks ago, and they are only about 6 inches tall, but one seedling is starting to put buds on. Should I pinch it? I wouldn't. So folks are pretty quick to want to pinch when stuff starts wanting to bud up. And so I don't know where you are, but planting too early, earlier than, and too early can happen to anybody because, our falls are just so messed up anymore. They just they either don't start on time or last forever, right? So I would only start pinching something this time of the year if it was over 12 to 15 inches tall, meaning it's going to get wind whipped and it might interfere with my row cover because pinching it is going to stimulate more growth, and you don't want that right now. So I would just leave it be. And foxglove, I don't know what variety you grew. Foxglove blooms its head off if you cut it twice a week. So don't worry about it. You're going to have plenty more stems, so don't even think about that. Have you tried to vernalize seedlings, not seeds, in a home refrigerator or freezer? Nope, I don't do any kind of special stuff like that. The only thing that we even grow that requires vernalization is a cold treatment, a cold time period. And that is, we grow 2 true biennial Sweet Williams, and that is Electron and Super Duplex. And they're worth the added trouble because they are amazing cut flowers. They're incredible colors that you cannot get in any of the Hardy Annual. They've tried to copy them, but they just aren't even close. So we just put it on our calendar to start them earlier in the summer, and they're the only thing that's planted around here are those 2 varieties. So no, we don't do, because stuff like that is just so much more complicated than I think, and we just don't have time for that. When you are a working flower farm, the day-to-day life tasks, chores, requirements are so much more than you can usually get done that we just can't do anything special like that. And it's just not necessary if you start them on time. And in fact, the ones that we grow, we want them outside in the garden, established for the cold. So it might be a little different than what you're talking about. Hello, Kim. I planted Persian cress and emerald green crest for the first time with my cool flowers. Could you share tips on growing, harvesting? Thank you so much. So, funny, so we did this master class for the club, which I think you might be in, Kim, so you'll get to see those dried. And my takeaway, I've grown Persian cress now for probably about 4 or 5 years. It is an amazing cool flower, and it is an amazing foliage, but let me warn you, especially when it's fall planted, it'll get up this tall. And it requires as much support as Lysianthus does, because the heads are so, what you want is those seed heads, right? Not the little insignificant flower. And so you have to keep them upright, and they're just beautiful. They're beautiful dried too. I was so excited to show those on the video this morning, on the class that I recorded. So support, I would put stakes every 4 foot on the Persian crest. The other one's not as tall, nor is it as heavy. It just grows so great as a cool flower. So you wait until after the blooms are gone and the seed pods are developed, and they're just really, really beautiful. And we cut them fresh, and then after we used them for the shows here on Friday shows, we just hung them to dry, and they dried blonde. Oh, they're so beautiful. But I will tell you, I lost so much of it last year because it was so tall, and the netting, I didn't pull the netting up high enough, and it just folds because it gets so top heavy. So be careful. It's got to be supported. Got to be supported. That's the big takeaway on Persian. And we do succession plant it, and we plant it in the fall. We plant it in very early spring. And I would suspect that it could be planted again. It's one of those crops that you need to grow it, figure out how to cut it, at what stage, what's it useful for. Is it a great filler in bouquets? Okay, that might be worth figuring out. Should I plant it again and again? Because if you're doing a supermarket bouquet subscription program where you're doing a couple hundred bouquets a week, that would be an awesome thing to add, right? So that's what I'm thinking. Is there a resource you would recommend to learn more about succession planting? So Linda, of course there is. My newest book, the Cut Flower Handbook, the true undercurrent of that whole book, the front half, is about teaching people succession planting and then learning when their planting windows are for those two families of warm season and cool season annuals. And so the Cut Flower Handbook is really a jumping off. It's a deep dive into that. My book, Vegetables Love Flowers, if you're struggling with it, it is really a lighter take on it, So, you might want to, because I'll tell you where most people fail, as I did for years. I just ignored succession planting because I was making it so complicated. It is so not complicated, y'all. And so Vegetables Love Flowers, which is about a 3-season cutting garden, by the way, it just was marketed to benefit vegetables. That was the whole corner of that book. But it's about a 3-season cutting garden, more for like a home cutting garden. But it talks all about succession planting and how to keep it going. And it also talks about my natural way of gardening without pesticides. But Vegetables Love Flowers for a baby bite. And then when you're ready to go deep, there's even places in the Cut Flower Handbook. You can comment book here and we'll send you the DM directly to it. There's places for you to write the dates you're supposed to research and get for yours, and that helps you to figure it all out. But keep it simple. My Snapdragon seedlings, half of them still have the cap attached. Dadgummit, that drives me crazy. I have been spraying them with water, tried with my fingers to get it off. Will they eventually come off? Yeah, we call them little helmet heads. So that happens that during the birthing, when the sprouts, they just get dry on the surface and the little seed shell doesn't let go. In fact, what I have learned, I have done a couple of things, and you can do a little experiment. I have just taken a little pair of scissors and just snipped it off. And when I did that, that stimulates growth from the bottom. You know, they're not going to sprout from the top, but it's like cutting the flower, right? And new sprouts come from the bottom, or you can just pinch it, or you can just leave it. And then the sprouts will ultimately come, but they're too late for us. You know, it's like we have a full tray and there's 20 helmet heads, but there's 80 moving on without you. Well, we just dump those 20, you know, I mean, we just compost them. So snipping them will be your fastest remedy for that. But that's a moisture issue during germination. Hi, Lisa. I've got all my cool flowers in the ground and I've run out of room. Welcome to the world that we all face. Can I plant my leftovers in pots? Will they survive? They are all winter hardy in my zone. You obviously are well educated on cool flowers. You would say, yes. I actually had, I had a cool flower big container garden last year. And we did the same thing. Bobo literally just took odds and ends of plants that we just didn't have room for that were still good looking transplants. She's just like the rest of us. We have a hard time composting seedlings. People, I act like I'm an old tough leather about that, but it's hard. So we plant everything. I mean, but my containers are like, they're 15 gallon, a 15-gallon container. My containers are about this big around. This is top to a trash can that my cover crop sits in. And when you have large containers, there's more mass of soil to protect roots, right? If you put them in a pot this big, no, they're not going to survive winter. It's going to freeze because they go dormant. So yes, do it. I mean, we planted everything. I had Tweedia and Sweet William and all kinds of stuff. Snapdragons, of course. Feverfew. I'm just thinking, I mean, and it was really fun because she just tucked stuff in and I didn't know what was in there. So yes, you can plant anything in a container. It just might be smaller, not as tall and as robust, right? So give that a try. And good job on getting your cool flowers in the ground. So we got our, we've got this big plan for next year around here. Things are just always evolving. Don't ever think you've arrived, y'all. I mean, if anybody had told me 28 years ago when I started flower farming of how this would have evolved over the years. I mean, when looking back, oh my gosh. Anyway, next year, we're already into the plan for next, obviously, because we're planting cool flowers. We have a really big change up here on the farm. And I am so super excited about it. And it's like, I'm renewed. And I have to tell y'all something. So, I've been working on so many projects, but something I've been working on the side is I have been thinking about what would because we've been talking about 27 years ago, I started flower farming, and I'm thinking back to that time, right? So I now have Cindy. Cindy is me 27 years ago. I have to put a name on it. And I think, what would Cindy benefit knowing then that I know now that I didn't know then? And it's really pretty dadgum eye-opening. And so right now we have downsized our working cutting garden. We're pretty spread out here without any purpose. And it's gotten a little out of control. That's why we have so many flowers. And so we've squished it down, and I'm doing what I'm telling people to do. Make room in your plan. Take your space and stick to it. And you do that with succession planting. And anyway, it's just pretty dadgum exciting. So we all run out of space. Nobody ever has enough space, y'all. And that never changes. I've never had enough grow lights. I've never had enough seedling heat mats. That's why I built a germination chamber. And we still have problems with space. I never have enough hardening off space. So as you grow, your needs grow. And it's pretty wonderful, y'all. All right. Is a refrigerator cooler necessary for anyone getting started? If so, what size to start off with? What a great question. Because there are 3 things that I felt like the reasons that I couldn't be a flower farmer. One of them, I didn't have acreage, I didn't have a tractor, and I didn't have a cooler. And all three of those I farmed for years without having. So yes, you can farm without a cooler, but you have to definitely stay in your parameters of what you're growing. Like you wouldn't grow tulips, you wouldn't grow lilies, you wouldn't probably grow peonies, because those have to, you cut a tulip in the morning, and if you don't get it refrigerated, it's going to be blowing open by the end of the day, So yes, you can do it, but there's certain crops that you just wouldn't grow, and you don't need to grow. I grew without a cooler for years. And in fact, we built our business around moving our flowers within 36 to 48 hours of them being cut. Quick. That's a really quick turn. We cut them on Monday, they were out of here on Tuesday most often. Cut them on Thursday, they were out of here on Friday, right? We literally, when the summer flowers started, we would cut our cooler off because I didn't grow lilies anymore. I used to grow lilies years ago, and I grew all that stuff back in the day. I learned that there are tons of things you can grow, in-demand things of top quality that minimizes those kind of infrastructure things that I know there are people out there that say that you can't, but I'm here to tell you I did it, and it is possible. But it's not like you can just go out there and grow everything you want. There are some perimeters that you have to stay in. So yes, you do not need a cooler to start. And I would not recommend starting with one, because is that not like buying the college education before your kid grows up? Do you know what I mean? It's like investing in something you may or may not even need. So many people start and never make it to the end of the first year, much less the second year, and even fewer on the third year. So I don't recommend those kinds of investments until you're in the game, doing it, making money, and knowing that this is your passion. This is your business. This is what you want to do for the rest of your business life, right? All right, I'm over, y'all. I'm going to answer this one last question since I already talked about containers. If I put my leftovers in pots in my deck, do they need some kind of cover? Well, so I will say that containers, because of their placement and they're higher off the ground, right? They might be more susceptible to wind. I'm thinking it wouldn't hurt to put a row cover on. We actually looked into carrying something like a poofy row cover that could attach or have elastic or something, or a drawstring. And they do make those things. And you can makeshift. You can cut a row cover and put string around it. And you want it loose, you don't want to trap your plants, but that'll just really protect them from the cold wind. And because a container's higher, up off the ground, it's more wind whipping. So that's a great question, and I would say probably, but I didn't. But we are just having such mild winters here that I just don't even know what we're going to do, right? If it keeps getting warmer, holy cow, y'all. All right, friends. Going to wrap it up. Suzanne, I have a sewing circle to do with my club at 2 o'clock, and Suzanne and I are pounding out the PowerPoint program for my conference talk. I can't wait to talk cool flowers next week, y'all, in Durham, and I know it's going to be a tear-jerking ride down there, while they're not damaged. It's just all the surrounding areas and all that's going on. So till we meet again, friends, thank you so much for joining me. Remember, thegardenersworkshop.com is where you can find everything. I have a free webinar out right now, y'all. How the 3 beginner flower farming mistakes to avoid. Just comment mistakes here, and it will DM you the link to grab it. And, it's just another one of those things. It's me and Cindy. We're working together now. I'm really trying to bring up those things that I wished I'd have known that really made a big difference. Could have made a really big difference. Saved me bazillions of dollars and a lot of time. So, see you at 2 if you're in my club. If not, hope to see you Friday inside the app for our live shopping show and see my harvest. We don't have much left, but it's still coming, y'all. All right, friends. Ciao.